Hello and welcome, I'm Tarek Basley and this is Downstream, the week's top stories from the world of science and technology from Al Jazeera. This week, we take a tour of the top startups at Russia's Silicon Valley. Team Electric bring their $1 million electric car to this year's Dakar rally. And the test flight that crashed, but could kites power the future? But first, it's that time of the year again when tech heads, journalists and thousands of technology companies gather in the US city of Las Vegas. The Consumer Electronics Show, or CES, is one of the world's largest technology meets, and it's where many new gadgets and concepts are showcased for the first time. This year, it's smart cars, smart plant watering systems, smart kitchens. Pretty much everything is smart and connected. At the heart of it all, the so-called Internet of Things, billions of gadgets connected and communicating with each other over the internet. But are these new gadgets making our lives easier, or are they a way for companies to gather and monitor your personal information? Jacob Ward took a look.
At the Consumer Electronics Show, the home of big and bold ideas, the focus this year is much smaller. Tiny tech that can put more of you and your life online.
Beginning last year, we started seeing things like basketballs, and this year we have baseballs, we have crock pots and onesies for babies, all kinds of things with sensors built in.
But that also means these sensors are exposing us in new ways, because they reveal where we go and how we're feeling and whether we're awake or asleep. And the software used to analyze that data is beginning to paint very sophisticated portraits of who we are.
Our connected devices are becoming more and more intelligent.
Companies at this year's show are seeking to replace things like physical car keys and traditional electronics with web-connected sensors as small as 3 millimeters across. Even our bodies can be monitored on a constant basis.
The more data you share, the more value you can get. But the more data you share, the more there's an opportunity for exploitation. And we take that very seriously.
There's a lot of convenience to all of this, but there's a lot of danger too. Many of the companies that are descending here in Vegas have never been in the sensor business before and may not know how to safeguard that data against intrusion.
These companies may have good intentions, but if 2014 taught us anything, it's that your texts, your emails, your phone calls are vulnerable. Now, in 2015, as we reveal to our gadgets the route that we take home, our time of arrival, and what lights we like to turn on when we walk in the door, a whole new world of data is up for grabs.
Well, staying with new technology, here's a quick look at some of the other innovations we can expect to see making waves in the next year. Flexing its muscles for the first time. This fabric has fibre optic sensors woven into it. This means it can monitor the wearer's health and motion. The developers say this technology is almost invisible, making it easier to integrate into normal clothing. This opens up the possibility of it being used in many more areas, including fashion garments.
Well, fashion changes radically and quickly, but once they actually achieve the level of being integrated into fabrics that can be replaced, so the fabric can be updated seasonally, but the technology can exist within the fabric, that's when it will come into its own.
Also taking off in 2015, the use of drones, small, unmanned, remote-controlled aircraft. As prices have dropped, they've become increasingly popular, not just with government agencies and professionals like filmmakers, but also with hobbyists.
Very, very few of these drones are licensed, which leads to the prospect of 12-year-old boys using these things from the top of blocks of flats, which, as we've already seen with drones being very close to customer aircraft, there's a lot of concern.
From the smart wheelchair, which monitors the user's health and also the mechanical health of the chair itself, to what are being called smart cities, where the data from millions of sensors is analysed and responded to in real time, helping manage traffic and the use of utilities like water. 2015 is expected to see hundreds of millions of devices and sensors connect over the internet. It's also expected to see a boom in what's being called revenue streaming. This is when people use the internet to connect directly with others, to offer them a service of some sort. This could be a ride somewhere in their car,
and see all the places we call home,
or letting someone else use their home or flat.
Their software matches demand to supply. So it's allowing people that have a home that they don't use, or they can go away for the weekend and allow someone else to use it, and monetize that in a way that people feel is safe and effective.
2015 is also expected to be the year when biometric readers like this one are widely introduced for banking. There'll also be a huge increase in the encryption of personal data. Both will help boost online security in our increasingly connected world. Well, some incredible innovation there. Innovation too in the year ahead when it comes to space exploration. In a moment, we'll take a look at what's coming up in what space fans are calling the year of the dwarf planet, and Lonesome George. He's one of a kind and he's heading home to Ecuador. Now though, some of the other technology stories of the week. Losing your phone charger could soon be a first world problem of the past. The possibility of wireless charging has moved a step closer as the Alliance for Wireless Power, which is backed by Intel and Samsung, emerged with an organisation called Power Matters Alliance. So why does this matter? Well, the two industry groups plan on working together to speed up the adoption of wireless charging for our devices. And it seems the sky's the limit for drones. The global market is set to grow and be worth $1 billion by 2018. That's according to the US Consumer Electronics Association. Companies and entrepreneurs are set to reveal around 100 new drones in 2015. And the internet went into partial meltdown in Australia this week. The country's second largest provider had to switch its servers off because of high temperatures. iNet said its air conditioning systems failed in the 44-degree heat. And NASA's just released this image taken by the Hubble Space Telescope of the galaxy next door. There are about 100 million stars in this picture of the Andromeda galaxy. The picture contains 1.5 billion pixels. The resolution's so high, NASA says it's like taking a photo of a beach and zooming in on an individual grain of sand. Well, for hundreds of years we've used the power of wind to pump water or push sailing boats along. But now a team of researchers in the Netherlands is developing a new way of harnessing energy from the wind. And by flying just one kite, they're able to produce enough electricity to power more than 10 homes. I joined them on a cold, wet airfield to see the technology in action. Last-minute adjustments before the test launch of a new high-tech kite.
It might be a bit dangerous.
These Dutch researchers believe if the technology takes off, it could change the way we generate electricity. The system harnesses the steady pull of a lightweight parafoil kite. A flight control computer rides just beneath the kite, communicating with a ground station. And as the kite pulls, a winch on the ground slowly lets the line out, at the same time using the pulling force to generate electricity.
By flying figures of 8, we fly really fast at around 100 kilometers per hour. So we can generate an optimal amount of electricity as the kite is reeling out. When we're done with the reeling out, we can reel it back in until it's just on top of us, and then it can dive back into the next power cycle and we have a positive energy balance.
170.
This prototype provides enough electricity to power between 10 and 20 homes, but the team wants to scale this up, making the kite and its power generating capacity 5 times larger.
You don't need a heavy crane, we can just be with our trailer, very mobile in a container, drop it. So also for remote locations it seems like an ideal replacement, especially also for diesel generators.
But like many test flights, this one doesn't go as planned, and a problem with the kite's steering brings it down. Flying at 200 metres, well above the height of conventional wind turbines, kites like these enjoy stronger and more sustained wind conditions. They're working on a computer system now to regulate its movement as it flies, and say when this is achieved, kite power could provide a more efficient and reliable source of renewable energy.
It is, from a computer's point of view, very difficult task, even for a human operator. You need some kite surfing skills, then you can feel how the kite reacts. It's a very dynamic system, so the kite always moves in all directions. So it's, from a control point of view, also a hard challenge.
The team says conventional wind turbines have taken decades to develop. Their technology is just in its infancy and has as much, if not more, potential. Well, Russia was once a scientific force to be reckoned with Russian brains behind the first electric-powered trains, the TV and video cassette recorder, synthetic rubber, and even the first mechanised grain harvester. But this position of power has declined since the collapse of the Soviet Union. Now, though, Russia's trying to foster new innovation and has created a technopark, its own answer to Silicon Valley in the outskirts of Moscow. Rory Challen's went to visit.
Aerob is just 3 years old, but already the company is selling drones to Russia's military, police forces, and has international clients too. Their innovation, says the technical director, is that Aerob's drones are intelligent. They can almost fly themselves.
Our drones have much more smart algorithms, which gives the drone an opportunity to flight more stable, to understand how to struggle with the high winds or to flight between the mountains or trees.
Saeed says being based at Skolkovo gives Aerob numerous advantages: tax breaks, knowledge sharing and access to potential clients. Now, the whole point of Skolkovo is not winning scientific awards or publishing academic journals. It's about building an ideas-based economy here, taking Russian innovation and selling it. Construction is nowhere near finished and won't be till 2020 earliest, but the dream is for a sprawling Silicon Valley-style ecosystem of profitable tech firms, startups and institutes, Russia's entrepreneurial future.
It's the benefit of Russian government and it's the benefit of the society, if you want. Just because we are creating those innovative companies, we are creating the system of the ecosystem of these innovative companies.
Despite early corruption investigations, Skolkovo has actually turned out to be surprisingly clean, and the roster of companies is growing all the time. But this is state-managed innovation, Russian style. So far it's cost $4.5 billion in federal funding, and some question whether there's the requisite demand in Russia's economy to make Skolkovo a success.
Когда проводят такую аналогию Сколково-Кремниевая долина,
when people compare Skolkovo with Silicon Valley, they forget the most important thing. Silicon Valley was started by dreamers from the bottom, while Skolkovo is a directive from the top. The mechanisms are different. Russia's state corporations don't need innovations because they have government budget money, free money.
It'll be a few years before such warnings can be accurately judged. The Russian government has made its high-tech bet. Fittingly, it's up to the future to reveal whether that bet was a good one.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if that investment pays off in the years ahead. To Argentina now and the Dakar Rally, one of the world's highest profile and most demanding sports events. And this year, for the first time, an electric car is competing. It cost more than $1 million to develop, and as Andrew Simmons discovered, has been turning heads.
Rally fans have no idea that one of the two cars they're watching is battery-powered. They get a clue from what they hear, not what they see. More than 3 decades of tradition, and the Dakar Rally has never seen anything like it. The first all-electric entry. Preparing before the start, a nervous service team, and a driver who says it's a crazy but brave venture. There's 9,000 kilometers of desert and mountain terrain ahead, not a city test run like this.
It's hardly what you'd expect of a rally car. A whirring sound, no roar of an engine, no smell of racing oil, but zero emissions.
It's been designed and built by a Spanish civil engineering company, powered by 4 batteries that have to be replaced every 350 kilometers.
We feel that we are a little bit crazy, you know, because doing the most difficult race in the world, like this, it thinks you are crazy, but all the people who made things new in the world, in the history, were a little bit crazy until they tried.
The co-driver's biggest challenge isn't just navigation, but rationing power levels and getting some battery recharge from deceleration and driving downhill. It's similar to a system used in Formula 1 racing.
Well, for me, it's a dream
because I'm an enthusiast of electric technology.
On average, each car burns 2,200 litres of fuel. This one consumes nothing. It may have a long way to go with more development, but it's already laid down a new challenge to this rally to go cleaner and greener.
Well, the new year promises to be a busy one for space programs and exploration. 2 probes are set to explore largely unknown parts of our solar system, in particular 2 bodies known as dwarf planets. After a 9-year journey through space, NASA's new Horizon craft will make the closest ever approach to Pluto in July this year. It'll come within 10,000 kilometres of its surface, giving us an unparalleled view of a world we know little about.
Pluto, whether or not we call it a planet, will be visited by a spacecraft in 2015. And that will be mind-boggling as well. The furthest heavenly body in our solar system, a large body, will be visited by a spacecraft that we launched a decade ago. To me, that's mind-boggling.
In April, another craft, Dawn, is set to arrive at the dwarf planet Ceres, which lies between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. It's hoped both encounters will shed light on the origins of the solar system. The problem of space debris will also get attention in 2015. 17,000 trackable objects larger than a coffee cup are currently in orbit around the Earth. They're a threat to satellites, and the European Space Agency is set to test new capture technology based on fishing nets.
The net essentially opens up, and being in space, you don't have any problem of drag. And when the net reaches the body of the debris, the net impacts on the debris, and the masses continue their courses, so they wrap around and they entangle the debris in a way that is impossible to disentangle.
Once caught, they plan to drag the debris down towards Earth, where it'll burn up on re-entry. Late last year, the European Space Agency placed a lander on the surface of a comet for the first time. The mother craft, Rosetta, is still orbiting the comet's nucleus and will spend most of the year sampling and analysing it as it approaches the Sun.
We're going to see water flowing away, gas and all the other materials at much higher rates. And so for many scientists, that's the big deal.
In January, NASA plans to launch a satellite designed to monitor the constant stream of charged particles from the Sun, so-called solar wind. These can cause damage to power and communication systems on Earth. It's also putting up one to explore how the Earth's magnetic fields affect the planet. India, China, Japan and Russia are also planning a number of satellite launches. These are intended to enhance communications and also give us a better understanding of our planet's place in the solar system. And finally this week, New York's Natural History Museum is saying goodbye to one of its special exhibits, a tortoise known as Lonesome George. He died 2 years ago at age 100 and was one of a kind, the last of a subspecies once studied by Charles Darwin. Here's Christian Salumi.
He's known as Lonesome George, the last known Pinta Island tortoise on Earth.
Interesting species of giant tortoise. He has this saddleback shell.
He was discovered on the Galapagos Island in 1971, at a time when scientists believed his subspecies was already extinct.
If these tortoises hadn't been heavily exploited and collected for oil and meat hundreds of years ago, we might still have the Pinta tortoise here. So it's already a message about being good stewards of our planet.
Brought to New York after his death in 2012, it took a taxidermist a year to preserve his skin and shell, replacing his internal organs with foam. A lifelike monument to an animal first discovered by Charles Darwin.
Lonesome George will soon be back home in Ecuador, gone but not forgotten from New York's Natural History Museum. He has become a symbol of what the world has lost from extinction. But sadly, his fate isn't unique. Dozens of species go extinct every day.
This is Lonesome George during his final years in the Galapagos. Attempts to find him a mate and produce offspring failed. But although he may be gone, his legacy lives on.
We read the story and we talked about what extinction means and what it means that there are no more of certain kinds of animals. I think she understands, right, that they all died, you said?
Yeah. Just to have the opportunities to say it, it's wonderful. There are a lot of talk about things are going extinct, and the shows that things are going extinct.
teaching a new generation about the fragility of life on Earth.
Well, that's all I have for you this week. If you've enjoyed it, I do hope you'll share this video and have a look at the Al Jazeera website, aljazeera.com. You can also follow me, Tarek Bazley, on Twitter @TarekBazley. Thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.